We're diving a bit more into the apparent activity, the movements, the tracking of recording artist David as a body of a young girl was found in a car that was registered to him. Plus, we also have just seen brand new footage of this victim, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, from September of 2024. This completely shakes up the timeline. You couple that with the newly released death certificate, it's time to get into some updates in this mystery. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. When it comes to the continuing investigation into the teenage girl who was found in a trunk of a car registered to 20-year-old singer David, while yesterday's Sidebar was about her movements, her activity, now we're going to talk about him. I mean, where is he right now? We don't even know. And this is going to be a very much David-centered discussion. But before we even talk about him, there are two big updates we got to address that came out after our recording from yesterday. New footage, new document, and it regards the victim. It regards Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose decomposed, dismembered body was found by authorities in that 2023 Tesla that was impounded in a Hollywood tow yard out in Los Angeles. Well, first of all, her death certificate has been released. We'll talk about that. Not really a bombshell, okay? It lists things we already knew, like how she was found on September 8th, 2025 in a vehicle. The cause of death has been deferred. The manner of death is pending. When we talk about manner of death, that could be, homicide, accidental. But this, again, is not surprising because there is still an ongoing investigation, and it's consistent with the reporting that we've seen so far. And while the death certificate confirms that an autopsy was performed, reporting suggests that the medical examiner is waiting on the results of toxicology examinations. Now, this is interesting. The death certificate indicates that Celeste apparently was not pregnant at the time of her death, nor had she been pregnant in the last year. And this comes as there has been a lot of speculation about her relationship, her connection with David. So we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his movements. Before we do that, one more thing about Celeste, and this is big. So in our previous episode of Sidebar, we talked about how Celeste had reportedly run away in the past. And there were surveillance footage from March of 2024 that was released. It was taken from a local liquor shop in Lake Elsinore. She apparently lived nearby. That's about 75, 76 miles away from where her body was found in that Tesla. Now, that footage seemingly captured her walking and then jogging down a street. She turned the corner and she disappears from view. We thought this may be the last known footage of her before she vanished and ultimately was found in that Tesla this year. Turns out there is new footage. There is additional footage that we have to talk about. This came out after we did our recording yesterday. So TMZ obtained footage of what appears to be Celeste in September 2024. So that is different from the timeline that we had all understood, right? The one that we thought she went missing in April of 2024. In this footage that was captured on Nest camera on September 8th, 2024, and apparently provided by neighbors, it seemingly shows Celeste upset, arguing with people, reportedly over a prank that was pulled on her parents' home, potentially ding-dong ditch. TMZ reporting that racial slurs may even have been used during this altercation. And also, according to TMZ, a neighbor's boyfriend went over to Celeste's family home afterwards to say sorry, but Celeste's dad reportedly didn't seem to be too upset by the whole thing. Okay, the reason this is important, again, the reason this is key, is because it shows Celeste, or apparently shows Celeste, alive at Lake Elsinore in September of 2024 after she had disappeared, after she was missing, and apparently was on missing persons posters since April of 2024. Also, TMZ points out that September 8th, when this happened, is the day after her 14th birthday. And by the way, in a chilling twist, that is 1 year before she was found in that car. She was found in that car one day after she would have turned 15 years old. Hey everybody, this is another Law&Crime legal alert. There are allegations right now claiming that the online apps DraftKings and FanDuel are engineered for addiction. That's right, these multi-billion-dollar companies allegedly continue to put profit over safety. Every free bet, every boosted parlay, every small payout allegedly triggers a dopamine rush that creates dependency and turns harmless fun into a detrimental habit. They can keep you hooked, chasing impossible wins, and can trap you in a cycle that can lead to significant financial loss and ultimately damage mental health. That's the allegation. Well, I'll tell you what, our legal sponsors, they are taking on the online gambling industry to potentially get compensation for all of those impacted. So if you or a loved one has suffered addiction or financial hardship or mental health issues due to sports betting apps, then visit gamblinglawsuits.com/sidebar to take a short quiz and check your eligibility to file a claim. So not sure if police have obtained this video, not sure if police are using it in their investigation, not sure if they have questioned the people in this video. But look, if this video shows what it appears to show, that could be quite significant as we're tracking whatever she was up to, whatever her movements were, a timeline leading up to her death. But now you go back to David, real name David Anthony Burke, okay, this 20-year-old performer. What were his movements? What was his activity? Now, to be clear, authorities haven't identified him as a suspect. They haven't identified him as a person of interest, nor has he been implicated in any crime or implicated in any wrongdoing whatsoever. By the way, they haven't identified any suspect or person of interest. But look, her body was found in the trunk of a car that was registered to him out of Hempstead, Texas. So let's just start at his social media activity, for example, okay? A key period of time. As we reported yesterday, the car was apparently on that block in Hollywood Hills for quite some time before it was towed and impounded. The car was ticketed apparently 11 days before Celeste's body was found inside. So on August 27th, a parking enforcement officer marked the car. September 3rd, the officer issued a citation for violating a 72-hour parking ordinance. September 5th, it was towed. September 8th is when the body's found. And neighbors reportedly told NBC Los Angeles that that car had maybe been there for about a month. Okay, so now you look at some of David's social media clips leading up to the discovery of Celeste's body in this car. These are all on Instagram, by the way. So September 1st, there's a video of him giving a hug to singer Kaye on stage. September 2nd, there's promotion of a collaboration with Fortnite. Underneath an animated picture of David, it says, "Tomorrow, David, Fortnite, locked and loaded. Official Fortnite anthem music video drops on all platforms at 5 p.m. Eastern. I started making music for my Fortnite montages 3 years ago. Man, this is crazy. Thank you." September 5th, he posts a selfie in the mirror with the caption, "I start media training tomorrow. Guys, wish me luck," with a kind of a worried face emoji. September 7th, there is a post promoting his album release. It says, "Wither Deluxe, Morescence out September 19th. Now, he was also on tour when a lot of this was going on, and I want to talk about that too. So apparently he kicked off the tour on August 5th in Del Mar, California, with stops in Dallas, Atlanta, New York, Philadelphia, Detroit. This is according to USA Today. Actually, as reported by TMZ and the Gazetteer, he also performed at the Warfield out in San Francisco in July too. This is before the tour fully kicked off. But his tour was canceled. His tour was canceled before he was set to perform on Friday, September 19th in San Francisco, and out in Los Angeles on September 20th. And while an exact reason hadn't been disclosed, it did seem to coincide with this investigation into Celeste's death ramping up. He was also supposed to go, by the way, international. The tour had dates, at least 9 European tour dates, shows that were listed on Ticketmaster. There was one for October 1st in Norway. There was a scheduled Grammy Museum appearance in Los Angeles. That was pulled, too, from the venue's website. His label, Interscope, told TMZ that all promotion for David, including his deluxe album release, that was being paused. And I will say, this wasn't immediate, by the way. So when Los Angeles authorities found a body in this Tesla that was registered to him, before the body was positively identified as that of Celeste, he went on stage in Minneapolis. At this concert, he even handed out Labubus to the crowd. But TMZ reported that once Celeste was ID'd, his tour was canceled, and that included an upcoming show in Seattle. By the way, I asked retired detective Matt Irvine about the tour dates too and David's movements. Here's what he had to say.
Well, again, as you said, we don't know for sure when she was placed in the front trunk of that vehicle, but we're now hearing it could have been as far back as early August of this year or a month or so before she was discovered. That's consistent with some of the reporting that we're hearing in terms of communication Celeste was having with friends, which appear to have stopped sometime in late July or the early part of August of this year. So it is quite likely that that is when this child's life ended. The fact that she's been reported as weighing only 70-something pounds upon her autopsy I think is significant. This is a child, again, according to the missing posters, that weighed about 120 pounds or more when alive. So that suggests that she's been deceased for a while, and that significant decomposition occurred before she was found.
One other thing, I think when we first started covering this case, there was an understanding that maybe that car was only there for a few days. And one of the scenarios that we came up with, well, perhaps whoever did this, they didn't have enough time to take that next step, moving the car, doing something with the body. But if now we're listening to this and that car was there for a prolonged period of time, doesn't that tell you something? Whether it's they wanted the car to be found, whether they wanted it there, whether or not they had the ability to get to it in time. But if the car was there for a prolonged period of time, doesn't that tell you something else about who may have done this, or maybe not who may have done this, but what the motivations or the actions were of the person who put her body in the car?
Well, what it does suggest is that the car was abandoned in this Los Angeles neighborhood at about the same time that David Burke's tour schedule would have made him
let me add that because CNN reported that he began his tour in early August, was even set to go overseas to Europe next month. That's been canceled. It was interesting because TMZ reported that he had a San Francisco show at the end of July, and the official tour started August 4th in Del Mar. So there, I think, is the timeline there. Talk to us about it.
Well, again, those early tour dates were all in West Coast cities, in places where he could presumably get back to Los Angeles without a great deal of trouble. It's about August 15th, and for a couple weeks after that, that he's pretty solidly in the eastern part of the US, in Canada, and I think one or two Midwest states. All of those locations with pretty much back-to-back tours, that is, pretty much every night, would make it very difficult for David Burke to return to the Los Angeles area. So I don't know if there was any intention to have the vehicle or the body discovered, but it seems like from about August 15th forward, it would have been very difficult for David Burke to return to Los Angeles for any reason, including to move his car.
But with the tour canceled, there was another development too. So according to News Nation, a private investigator who apparently reviewed the initial complaint regarding the car, regarding the Tesla, said that the car was parked about 150 feet away from a multi-million-dollar property that David was apparently renting. And it was reported that David recently broke that lease. The New York Post saying it was for $20,000 a month, and he moved all of his stuff out of there. The Daily Mail apparently obtained photos of large boxes being moved out of that house on September 24th. So this is about a week after the property was searched by authorities pursuant to a search warrant. TMZ reported that they maybe were looking for blood evidence or hair sample evidence. NBC reported that law enforcement sources were saying police were looking for various things, including digital devices that may contain material potentially linking Celeste to that property. TMZ reported also that LAPD detectives left with a computer and several evidence bags. An LAPD spokesperson told People, quote, several items of evidence were recovered and will be analyzed by detectives in the coming days. Investigators are following up on several leads. E! News reported that law enforcement sources with knowledge of the case said that electronics and computers were removed. Now, in terms of David, he's been radio silent. No word we've seen. We don't even know where he is right now. And while it was reported that David initially had been cooperating with the investigation, I mean, his representative reportedly told NBC Los Angeles that he's, quote, fully cooperating with the authorities, Los Angeles Police Department Captain, Commanding Officer Scott Williams couldn't confirm to People whether the singer was in fact cooperating. Williams also said to People that regarding a relationship or a romantic relationship between David and Celeste, quote, it would be premature for me to say anything. We're looking into everything. Now, TMZ reported that people in the industry believed 20-year-old David and Celeste were dating, and that many believed she was actually 19 years old. She was actually in the 7th grade, by the way. And right now, there are those, particularly online, who are analyzing any potential link, any potential evidence of the two of them seen together, whether it was apparently a photo, whether it was a live stream. There has also been reporting that they shared the same tattoo on their fingers, which was apparently a key identifier of Celeste's body. Now, there are individuals who have looked to clues in his shows or his songs for alleged connections to Celeste, and to be clear, nothing has officially been verified. Here's the thing, even if you look at lyrics from his song Romantic Homicide from back in 2022, this is what seems to be creating the conversation. The lyrics say, I mean, even in the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear. But again, nothing remotely to suggest this has anything to do with Celeste. Now, I also sat down with criminal defense attorney William Corman. We did a full sidebar on this. And I asked him, okay, if you're representing David right now, what should he be doing? And what do you think his attorneys are up to? What would you advise him if you were representing him right now?
Not to say anything and not to do anything. If I were his attorney, what I would advise him to do is lay low, do nothing, don't obstruct the investigation, but we're under no obligation to cooperate with it either, and just let your lawyers do what they need to do in order to get from point A to point B. I would imagine there's some communication, and what it really is you're informing the prosecutors of where your client is, your client's availability. What you don't want is for them to come into your client's house in the middle of the night and arrest them. In a situation like this, I reach out to prosecutors where I think I have a client who's a suspect. I say, look, you know me. Let us know where you need us to be. We will turn ourselves in at any moment, rather than you coming to my client's house or my client's place of business, 10 officers deep and taking down the door. Let's cooperate with you. You know what we're going to do. We're going to turn ourselves in if and when it gets to that stage of the game.
I'm also going to tell you this. The death of Celeste has had notable ripple effects for David. So on one hand, aside from the pause on his tour and his album, it was announced that Crocs and Hollister had pulled promotional images of the singer from their marketing campaigns after this body was found in the car registered to his name. On the other hand, on a benefit, Vice reported that on September 13th, he gained over 22,000 followers on Spotify, an over 250% increase. On social media, he gained over 25,000 new Instagram followers. He has 2 million on Instagram right now, 4 million on TikTok, almost 2.3 million on YouTube, so perhaps suggesting people's interest in this case, or him growing in popularity because of all this news. Not entirely clear, but significant nonetheless. It was notable what LAPD Captain Scott Williams also said to People. And when I say People, I mean People magazine. As we think about David and we think about this investigation, he said, "We know for sure that Celeste Rivas Hernandez died, and someone placed her body in the front trunk area of David Burke's Tesla," so officially confirming that it was his car. "We know that the Tesla had been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks, so it is very likely Celeste Rivas Hernandez had been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not determined a cause or manner of her death, so we don't know for sure if anyone has any criminal culpability for her death beyond the concealment of her dead body." In other words, did someone find her dead? Did she die under other circumstances? They panicked and tried to hide the body. Now, having said all that, and while there is no concrete verified evidence attaching David to the death of Celeste, again, he's not a person of interest, not a suspect, I did ask William Corman what an arrest would look like in this kind of case. If there is some sort of action in this case, what will it look like and what can we expect?
I imagine that the first thing that would happen is there would be an arrest of David. I'm imagining,
or someone else.
Or someone else, right? Someone will be arrested in this case, I imagine. And if it is somebody like David, whose attorneys have already been in touch with the prosecution, they'll most likely arrange a time for him to turn himself in. If it's someone else, someone random off the street, someone whose name we don't even know, that person could obviously just be arrested at the spur of the moment.
But that's where the investigation is right now. We will see what happens next. We will continue to follow updates here on Sidebar. And as always, thank you so much for joining us and following us. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll see you next time.